Christmas nearly 90s gave to me. 2 former husbands and Santa holding a store hostage.
Welcome to Namely 90s, the podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
That's right, you're listening to Namely 90s. My name's Andrew, and over there's Brandon.
That's me.
You can find us online at namely90s.com or on Twitter and Instagram at namely90s with the 90s. You can also find the show on YouTube at youtube.com/@namely90s. And if you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/namely90s, also with the 90s, to get signed up for one of those support levels. And welcome back. It is day 2 of our third annual 12 Days of Christmas specials.
Oh, yeah.
I always want to say special after that. I can't help it. I think I stole that from Top Gear, but anyway. But we look back at holiday-themed episodes of 90s television with special podcast guests.
Oh, yes. Why did you put that weird emphasis on special?
Well, I mean, I would call these guests special. They've been on the show more than most.
Now it just
more
feels
than
weird
any.
coming out of my mouth. Special.
Okay.
Special.
Well, that's... Figure it out. No.
Today, for day 2,
say things now.
We're doing Futurama, and we brought back friends of the show since... For longer than we've been on, for more than half of the lifespan of the show, they've been friends of the show. It's Chase Keys and EmmyZero from SNEScapades.
Yay!
Woohoo!
How's it going?
It's supposed to sound more
Sounds like
enthusiastic.
fun on a bun.
Welcome back. You were guests on our final episode of the 12 Days of Christmas specials last year, where we watched quite possibly the worst episode of Power Rangers Zeo or any Power Rangers.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was possible for one to be discernibly worse as a non-fan of the show, but boy, we found it.
Yeah, man, that taught you, I think, right away. But yeah, it's really nice to be back and to be talking about something that's good this time. It was very fun. It was very fun to talk about the bad thing last year, but it's good to be talking about something that is actually enjoyable in like a non-ironic way. So yeah, thank you both so much for having us back. It's really exciting to be on the show again, and to talk about Futurama, which I think we both are huge fans of. So yeah.
Oh yeah. I quite enjoy me some Futurama.
Oh yeah,
it's one of those shows I clearly like. There's so many shows I need to go back and watch in their entirety. This is one of them. I think King of the Hill is another one, but who has the time?
People in the pandemic.
Well, I worked the entire time without any breaks, so that's hard for me to envision. But like, I wasn't learning any TikTok dances in my basement.
That's fair. I mean, I don't have a basement, but I was learning TikTok dances.
Yeah, I don't know why basement had to be the qualifier there, but
yeah. There's been some shakeups over at SNEScapades recently. Do you want to enlighten us on this new coming era of SNEScapades? Because I think I don't want to give anything away, but
well, I mean, by the time this episode goes out, it's gonna have happened, which is why the name change and everything. But yeah, we took a break. Emmy had some good stuff going on in her life. I had some less good stuff going on in my life.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
I'm actually still kind of recovering from it. it was that bad. But we decided this would be a good chance to kind of start fresh a little bit. We'd been talking a while about changing up how we do the ranking because, it sounds fun when you start out, but you get 200 games into a list where you're ranking every single one, and it starts getting pretty tough. So we decided to change how we did that, and that now we just have some tier lists with still a little bit of ranking going on, but it's mostly going to be tier lists.
Yeah.
Now
we rank the way we're doing it now is we are still playing every game on the Super Nintendo in release order from North America, but now we are only ranking the very best and the very worst in like a numerical order. The rest of them all go into kind of tiers. So, we don't really within those middle tiers kind of try to break it down like exactly which game is better or worse than which other one. But for the best games and the worst games, we do. So because I feel like in a way that is sort of where that matters,
Mm-hmm. So it gets into some hair splitting when you're like, is this the 97th worst game or the 104th worst game?
And also, when you have that many games, I don't remember a ton about the 104th worst game to be able to say whether it's definitively better or worse than the 103rd game. So it's better to just kind of group them in terms of like general quality, general vibe, So,
Absolutely. And the last time you were here, I believe you just finished your 200th review celebration.
Yes, we had. Yeah. And now we have a number of games on top of that have been added to the list.
That's amazing.
Actually, we removed some games, so for a while we actually had less than 200 again.
That's true. We did have a rethink on some games that we maybe hadn't given enough consideration to that we kind of just couldn't because they were so far outside of our wheelhouse. So we actually did remove some games from the list a few months ago because of that. Mainly sports games, but
sports games and Koei strategy games.
Not NHL 94. No, that's one of the ones that definitely stayed. I think that's actually still in the ranked portion of the upper reaches of the list.
All right.
So, Honest Piranha, are you going to be like doing tier list articles too on top, as a supplement to your podcast, or?
I don't know if I'm going to do any articles. I'm hoping that the website is up by the time this goes out, but I'm planning on a few things like a little game. I don't know if you ever. I'm usually the oldest person in the room whenever I'm doing any of these podcasts, so this might be something that nobody but me remembers. But back in the 80s, Nintendo released these scratch-off cards in like little wax packs. Based on like Mario and Mario 2 and Double Dragon and stuff like that. I got hold of a bunch of these and discovered, you can't scratch these off anymore. They're too old. The scratch off thing, if you scratch it off hard enough to remove it, you will actually damage the card and you can't see what's underneath it. So I have, using my JavaScript skills, have recreated the game virtually so you can actually relive the magic, see what it was like.
That's awesome. That's cool. I hope I get Double Dragon when I go. That was my go-to. Also, as of this recording, your most recent episode was from your previous recording batches. The Seventh Saga and Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends episode. And I just wanted to say I really appreciated your tribute in the beginning to Mike Fahey of Kotaku, who passed away in September.
Big
loss for the video game community.
Twice now, like a video games journalist has passed away that has just like really gutted me. Ryan Davis a few years ago of GiantBomb.com, and now Mike Fahey. I'm just like, will these people stop dying, please?
After his first health thing, it was nice to see him recover and return to writing.
Definitely. But very sad that he had another downturn and didn't make it out of that.
But not to drag us down too far.
I was starting to worry. I was coughing, and you guys were oh, it was health scare.
Andrew has a weird sniffle. I don't know if he'll make it through these episodes.
I'll be fine.
I don't know.
But I had a question. I recently started watching The Completionist, Gerard Cahill, who does like reviews on video games by 100% completing them. And he, around his 200th episode, decided to do some like a new game plus, where he would go back and go redo the older episodes that he had done already. Is that in your future as well, down the line, or a part of
redoing the older games and kind of giving them a reconsideration?
Yeah. Well, which you kind of already did, but when you did your 200th, and we were able to convince you to shuffle it around a little bit on the list.
Well, so in a weird way, honestly, even though we went very rapid fire through the whole list, our special, which should be out by this point, when this episode comes out, our special where we reorganized the list into tiers kind of is a bit of that, because we do talk about all of these games, and we talk about like how our feelings on them may have like changed a little bit over time. And, you know, some games honestly went up in our estimation just in reflection on them and what came after them. And some that we had an okay time with at the time, we were like, yeah, I don't know about that one. So yeah, we've already done a little bit of that. A more extensive thing, I don't think is something we've really talked about yet. But, you know, we are, you know, I think it prone to doing some reconsideration from time to time. So I don't know. Never say never, I guess.
I mean, we usually like to save that for when we have guests on who can, you know, offer a different opinion on some of them. You know, we've had Trevor from the Catching Up on Cinema podcast on a couple times, and he has pulled for Axelay quite a bit, and we ended up actually, I think in this latest sort of reevaluation of everything, making sure that Axelay was in the B tier.
Yeah.
It did not fall below that. So
yeah. Which A is our highest tier. We did not do an S tier. So that's pretty good for Axelay, I think. Yeah.
That's fair. We're not Sega after all.
Right? Yeah.
I love that. Looking forward to the new format and episodes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Are you still on most major podcasting platforms except for ones that support Joe Rogan?
Yeah, we might go back to Spotify just because, like, we've had, you know, like no listeners since I pulled it.
Oh, no.
The other thing, you know, is like I have been watching your guys' show on YouTube a lot, and it has made me think, like, you know, having it on YouTube does make it a lot easier because I've always got YouTube running in the background when I'm working and stuff like that. So it's just like so much easier to just be like, yeah, you know, like I don't have to like remind myself of like, oh, I forgot to listen to this podcast this week. It's just there. It's had me thinking about like what our show would even look like as a video show, because neither of us really wants to be on camera, at least not as ourselves.
I mean, I will say I'm in a better position to do that than I used to be, just because I'm in a place now, like physically, where, you know, my new house is a place that I could actually set up a video setup in more easily than the tiny apartment I was in before. So, yeah.
Well, I keep thinking, like, there are YouTube channels that get thousands, if not millions of views, like lo-fi beats to chill to and stuff, which I rather like. Don't, you know, I'm not throwing shade at them, but you know, it's just like one very simple looping animation over and over again, you know, or it's like just like a static shot of a cafe with maybe it's like some leaves blowing outside. Like we could just do that.
Yeah, it's $30 on Fiverr.
There you go. Yeah. We're SNEScapades, you know, we're Super NES retro history game podcasts to chill / study to.
I can see it now. It's like kind of a little darkened room with a CRT TV glowing, backlighting a Super NES with the SNEScapade logo on the cartridge.
Yeah.
Easy.
You know what? I like that actually. This. You know what?
It's yours.
Not a bad idea.
Unless I accidentally stole that from something else, but I don't think I did. I'm sure that's a general image somewhere. But yeah.
And make sure you record some sort of canned message about how much of a verifiable idiot that Joe Rogan is, just so you're not unclear.
Yeah.
We'll just have like a little like ticker, like the Weather Channel or something at the bottom of the screen, just going off with like that, or just like various leftist platitudes, anarcho-communist recommended reading,
it's just a ticker that shows like the full text of the Communist Manifesto, just like,
I was thinking like a wall sign that said, it's been 0 days since Elon Musk fucked up Twitter.
Yeah, there you
Meanwhile,
go.
at the bottom of Joe Rogan's podcast, it just says, in repeat, take horse dewormer for any medical problem
that
you might have.
Right. Yeah.
How's that still a thing?
The spark notes for the conquest of bread. By
I have a point to make. They actually did do it. Apparently, there is a study that suggested, an actual scientific study that suggested ivermectin had benefits in treating COVID, but not like you don't just go down to the feed store and buy it as a preventative measure.
No.
Yeah. I mean, as a veterinarian,
it's just nuts. I get a little bit nuts on that stuff, but.
Yeah, he just takes some, goes for a ride downtown, freebasing some ivermectin. Oh, that's not what you were implying?
Maybe. We'll talk about it.
Is that what the kids are doing now? You just got to take the horse pills?
Can they just put the ivermectin directly in the OxyContin? That way it would just be like a one-stop
just a nice little cocktail, yeah. like an 8-ball of even worse ideas.
Was that a Rush Limbaugh joke? It might have been. I'm sorry.
Oh,
maybe.
God.
Rip.
If it is, it's the only good one he's ever had. So
That's
yeah.
Fair. That's true.
No, it was more at his expense, but
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Ouch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I approve.
Oh, yeah, because he was on it. That's right. Yeah.
Rip. To the
least.
Rip. Yeah. Anyways,
we have
he's
our
the pee and rest in piss.
That's fair.
Yeah, we can go down this path for a long time. I guess we should.
It's been a while since we've had guests that are just. Well, actually, no. You've only had one podcast guest in between your last appearance on our show, I guess. I was going to say it's been a while since we had guests that we could just fly our liberal flag with.
I am not a liberal. I'm a leftist. Let's make sure we know that. I am anti-capitalist.
That's fair. That's fair. I misspoke, Chase.
Okay. All right. It's okay. I forgive you.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that is how a polite discourse goes. Anyone on the right?
Yeah, you see, folks?
No.
See?
I think what we should do instead is storm a government building. That's clearly the answer here. I mean, sometimes that is the right answer, but
I mean,
I shouldn't even say it because I don't want to have to make you edit it out later. So I'm not even
that's fair.
Although I do have to say,
that well.
My favorite story was I was at Legoland with my family, and there's like a whole. I don't know if you've ever been there, but in California, but there's they've built all of Washington, D.C. and the different monuments and things out of Lego, and they're on display. It's kind of amazing. And so I came upon the Capitol building, and I just took a picture and texted Brandon, and I was like, do I storm it? Like I can't.
And then I just sent Emperor Palpatine to do it.
Do it.
Yeah, get a picture of yourself beheading a minifig of Mike Pence.
And then the joke was that I would probably get more jail time for doing that at Legoland than the people who actually did it in real life. But anyway, that's moving on.
Yeah. Fair enough. So where we can, I already asked that, honestpiranha.com and major podcasting platforms, SNEScapades. Should we move on to... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I could plug social media too. We'll probably do that.
Do that.
Throw it out.
Well, just because I have no idea what the hell is going to happen with Twitter between now and this thing going out. So I am on Twitter. It's at SNEScapades. I'm also on Mastodon at SNEScapades at mstdn.social, I think it is. I might need to double check that. It's on my Twitter profile.
And
also co-hosted SNEScapades. I'm just trying all of them. I'm going to see which one folks start gravitating to. But I don't know. I have no followers on Cohost, but it's a lot easier to use. But actually, Emmy, I haven't told you this yet.
Yeah.
Jeremy Parrish follows me on Mastadon.
Oh, neat. That's cool. Yeah. That's very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys know.
I'm going to have to stop doing the bit where I call him Big Papa Parrish now.
Yeah, that would just get a little weird if he actually knows who we are. The joke about us being like creepily into him is less of a funny joke if he's actually listening to the content. So.
So just in case, I'll have to drop that one.
Yeah.
Writer for formerly Electronic Gaming Monthly and IGN. Oh, okay. He's
a big guy in like he's a big guy in like the retro game scene. He does a really great. He is one of the founders of the Retronauts podcast, and he also does a really good YouTube series on old games as well. So.
Nice.
So honestly, his series on YouTube, NES Works, and the other various series he does was actually like a huge inspiration for me to start SNEScapades.
That's awesome.
It's a big influence on us. So it's very cool that he actually follows Chase on Mastodon.
Very cool.
Interesting. I'll have to look into this. This is wow.
All right. Well, time to move on to Futurama.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about Futurama.
We talked about it in an episode, and Andrew was like exactly what he said earlier. I need to watch it, but where do I find the time? So I guess we'll throw it to our guests first. What is your history with Futurama?
Do you want to go first, Chase?
Sure. I would say, I was watching it kind of from the beginning because, it had a very Simpsons-esque... actually, Emmy, why don't you go first? I've got another train coming.
Yeah, sure. I was there, day one for the premiere of it on Fox. It was a really funny show that I liked a lot. I was a big fan of Simpsons in that classic era, so I knew they were making this other show. I was really excited because it was kind of a sci-fi thing. I'm a big sci-fi fan, so I was big into it, and my dad really loved it as well because it has a bunch of math jokes, and he's a mathematician, so the high-end math humor is very few and far between on American network TV. So really nerdy jokes about math are always sort of catnip for him. But I watched all those original Fox years. The show didn't get treated very well by Fox, which you might have talked about, but it got frequently preempted by sports events and stuff, and episodes were shown out of order, and just wasn't a great situation for the show, but I enjoyed it a whole lot. Was really excited when they came back with some direct-to-video movies a few years later after the cancellation. Honestly, didn't really love those that much, and then kind of stopped following the show during the Comedy Central years because I just felt like it had kind of lost a step a little bit. But I really love those original Fox seasons of Futurama, and I can pretty much watch any of them whenever the mood strikes me and have a good time.
Yeah. No, I was watching pretty much from the get-go. I fell off a bit when I started college and went back to it also while in college when it started airing on Adult Swim. So that was kind of when I got back into it. The funny thing about Futurama now is that it's been revived so many times. This is a show that has now had 3 final episodes. And I guess now that it looks like it's going to be revived again, it's going to have a 4th final episode eventually, which is kind of funny. But no, it's a good show. It's really funny. It's really smart. I really enjoy it. I'm kind of with Emmy that I don't think the movies were the quote unquote movies. Excuse me. The quote unquote movies were quite as good. I don't think that I don't think the Comedy Central seasons were quite as good. They just felt a little bit off. But I still watched them. I still thought they were pretty funny. It's one of those things where it's a weak Futurama is still better than most comedy. So
true. Very true.
So yeah, but yeah, I really like Futurama.
Andrew, do you want to go?
No, yeah, it's one of those shows I had seen periodically, and I still continue to see off and on. It's a fun show. I like it because the humor is a little smarter, but still has like some of the Simpsons feel to it. But yeah, it's definitely a good show, and it's one that I do need to put toward the higher end of the list as far as doing an actual watch through.
Absolutely. For me, I like Emmy. I saw it pretty much in the beginning, but I didn't watch the full initial run like altogether because it was hard to find. But I did. It's like one of the first things that I streamed on Hulu when I got it. And did like a full completion. It might have been on Netflix back in the day, right around the time that
it's moved around a couple of times. Yeah.
And I watched all 6 specials. And I liked the first one. Like there's 1 or 2 of them are actually, I think, are pretty good.
The first couple are pretty good. There's a really, really bad Dungeons and Dragons themed one that I was about to ask.
Yep.
Oh God, that is like one of the roughest Futurama things that they've ever made. I think in terms of it just not working at all.
That one was not great. I agree. But yeah, I think Into the Wild Blue Yonder was a good one. I want to say the smartphone one, if that was.
Oh yeah, the smartphone one. Yeah.
And then I definitely watched every episode of the return on Comedy Central. It wasn't as good as the original, but it still scratched that itch. And
yeah.
Also, for those of you that don't know, it's coming back for another 20 episode run on Hulu. It's set to premiere in 2023.
Yeah, which is pretty exciting. I hope it's good. I hope it's as good. I hope they are able to do something cool with it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really bad new things, so I may as well just go back and recycle something, see if we can make something of it.
Does anyone have a specific episode that stands out in their mind before we move on to the one that we watched?
I mean, there's a few I've got. Probably like my favorite one. Maybe my favorite one of all time is the one where they go back in time to the Roswell disaster in the 50s, and Fry accidentally becomes his own grandfather. Spoilers. So yeah,
that's a good one. Yep.
Great one. Great episode. It's called Roswell That Ends Well.
Yeah. I feel like you could kind of go with the obvious, like the one with Fry's dog that everybody talks about how it made them cry.
Oh, yeah.
For me, like the emotional gut punch episode is actually more the one where Fry finds out about his brother and the Lucky Clover. That one, I really liked that one. How it recontextualized, Fry's brother to Fry himself, and I thought that was really neat. I also just like the Robot Asylum episode because it's very, very funny, and it has my favorite Farnsworth quote ever, which is, "Don't worry, Fry. I too once spent a nightmarish time in a robot asylum, but now it's nearly over."
Yeah.
Excellent.
No, that might be honestly one of the funniest. That is the Robot Asylum episode might be one of the funniest half hours of television I've ever seen, frankly. So yeah. It's a good choice.
I like the Problem of Poplars episode. They're all eating those fried babies of I think it's the babies of the Omicron.
The Omicronians.
It is. Yeah.
And the Slurm episode is always good, and of the new batch, my favorite Farnsworth line is the "I don't want to live on this planet anymore." During
yeah.
Also,
I
a
can't
great
do
meme.
I can't do it as well as Chase, but that's my go at it.
I don't have a favorite. Well, this episode's my new favorite until I watch the rest of it. How's that?
Okay.
I mean, it was pretty good.
And
This is a pretty good one. Yeah.
yeah, especially it's the first introduction of Robot Santa, not the last appearance. And
But I think the only time he's played by John Goodman.
Yeah.
that's who that was.
That's right. It is John Goodman.
I didn't look into it.
I actually watched the credits. What's wrong with me?
I was watching it too, but I must have looked away. All right. Shall we get into Xmas Story, season 2, episode 4/8, depending on production order versus episode drop order. Xmas Story, Futurama. It starts with a cold open. They're at a ski chalet, and Conan O'Brien's head is opening. That's the other thing. That's the other great thing about Futurama is all the celebrity heads in a jar.
Great excuse to be able to have 20th century celebrities voice themselves in cameos.
Absolutely.
Well, including like celebrities and historical figures that were already dead when these episodes were made.
It's science fiction. Don't even worry about it.
I
guess.
I thought the Conan. I thought the Conan sequence was a little weak, to be honest.
I thought it was. I mean, I think it's funny if you think about it as like these people all know Conan because he used to like write for like The Simpsons, which a lot of these people used to write for. And it's them, and it is Conan doing the voice, so it's like them giving a bunch of really. It is. So it's them giving a bunch of really weak material. A bunch of really weak material to Conan so they can have the characters say mean things about him.
I thought that 2012 comment was interesting, though.
The war.
Yeah, it was like the war of 2012. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Knowing that it was, I totally thought it was somebody impersonating him, but
it could just as well be. But it actually was him.
Yeah.
The voice isn't super distinctive, but yeah.
It almost felt a little bit needlessly mean, but knowing that it was actually Conan there, then I feel a little better. That recontextualizes that bit for me, and I now don't dislike it as much. So thank you all for that.
You got it. Bender heckling him was just a nice dip back into Futurama for me.
Oh yeah.
And then from there we get the credits, and someone makes a comment that global warming was canceled out by nuclear winter. I think it was Leela. She says,
because Fry says like, whatever happened to global warming?
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah. He's like, I'm really glad global warming didn't get rid. Or it's like, wow, this snow's great. I'm really glad global warming didn't happen. And she's like, yeah, it did, but luckily nuclear winter canceled it out. So yeah.
So like a nuclear war that now did happen canonically in Futurama.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first episode has that. It starts with Fry getting locked in that tube, and then you see like 1,000 years of history happen outside the window. And there is a bunch of like stuff, everything getting like blown up and like rebuilt and blown up again by different things.
That's true. Yeah,
so I think that it seems like they probably got at least a couple of nuclear wars in there.
I think in the writers' room though, they probably went with like they had another option, which was like, oh, well, it turned out that denying that climate change was a thing worked out.
Yeah, right.
It's just,
I'm glad they didn't go with that one.
No, it wouldn't have been as funny, but that was probably kicked around.
These are probably the same writers that predicted everything that The Simpsons did.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the gang's all skiing at the ski resort, and we see how far technology is advanced, and that trees can go up and down as you're skiing.
That's one of my favorite jokes in the episode. Trees down. Like, what else do you want the trees to go up? Trees up. Yeah.
Trees up.
Yeah. It's very
physical comedy.
Oh yeah,
classic.
Yeah.
Bender gets his tagline in, except it's modified to "lick my frozen metal ass."
Yep.
And I believe someone at the resort's trying to stop him from going off the trail because, of course, he falls off the cliff into Charlie Brown kids skiing on the ice rink.
Yeah, I was trying to see, like, okay, are there analogs for all of the Charlie Brown characters here? Because we definitely have a pig pen. I don't know if we get, like, you know, all the characters one-to-one there, but obviously it was going for that.
Yeah, I think it was that was more of the time when they're like when you couldn't get away with it. Well, Charles Schultz was still. No, he was dead at this point.
This is probably around the same time. This is probably only a couple years before the Boondocks Christmas episode, which is a very direct parody of the Charlie Brown Christmas. So I think something was shifting, but maybe hadn't shifted completely at this point.
Maybe Fox is a little more scared than Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
We also get the. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say we get the. I really want to make sure we don't forget about Hermes and the bobsled.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Take it away.
We get a little talk about some famous Jamaican bobsledders from back in the day.
Came in last and retired to promote alcoholic beverages for the rest of their careers.
So I'm like, they didn't talk about that part in Cool Runnings. I don't think
they did not. And then I was like thinking to myself, is it Red Stripe? Is that the beer?
It's probably Red Stripe, right? That's the Jamaican beer. So.
Right. I didn't look into it, but I was just like.
Because I do remember that. I do remember a Jamaican guy advertising Red Stripe, and
yeah. I was like, am I connecting dots where it shouldn't be, or is that what it was?
I did find it really funny that the bobsled just like slowly rotated, like it didn't even move forward.
That's a very good joke.
Classic.
Yeah, that whole sequence is really good actually because it gets more ridiculous. It's he rotates and falls down the thing. Then Bender goes after him, and then Fry's like, "Oh, what the hell?" and just gets on the bobsled course. It was very funny.
It
was
a
perfect comedy comes in threes moment.
Yep.
Yes.
It was quite well done.
Yeah.
Y'all see Cool Runnings, right? You've all seen it?
Yes.
Long time ago, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very long time ago. I have no idea if that movie's actually good or not, but yeah.
I feel like it would still be a pretty cozy movie.
I just remember we are in Jamaica and we have a bobsled team.
Yep.
John Candy is in it, I think.
John Candy, yep.
Yeah. Rip to the max.
Rip to the max. Let's see.
I hope you all don't mind that we've used that line now a couple times on our show.
No, it's you're friends of the show. Take it.
Thank you,
and make it your own.
Okay. I'm pretty sure we name drop your show whenever we say that.
We appreciate every shout out. And love it. It's always
Absolutely.
fun. That's I think. Other than Jewel, our Lord and Savior, who we haven't talked about in over 6 months, other than that, I think that's our one tagline, "Rip to the max." So they get back to the chalet.
They've all sustained various injuries.
Amy's hitting on dudes and casts. So that's her arc for the episode because I feel like we don't even see her again.
Amy's in I think these scenes and nowhere. I think she's in the background of some other scenes, but that's it. Yeah.
I will say that is one thing I like about the revival, the Comedy Central ones, is that they gave Amy a lot more to do. They really sort of advanced her character a lot, which also reminds me of the episode where they all change brains. That's actually a real good episode.
That is a good one.
So one other thing in here that I wanted to mention real briefly is the bit of Farnsworth doing very impressive skiing.
Okay.
While and the joke is that he's doing this like awesome skiing run, and it turns out he's just asleep. And when he gets back to the chalet, he wakes up and he's wearing like like a number banner from like a race and a gold medal that he apparently got while he was asleep. But there's a really good piece of animation of him like flipping around while doing a ski jump that I feel like must be like a reference to like a commercial or something, but I don't know what it was. But a really nice piece of animation though.
That makes sense. I liked that as well. And he's kind of just like wiggling around and all very loose.
I guess the joke is that skiing is so easy that you can do it in your sleep.
that or Farnsworth is so adept, or it's just funny to see an old person be that good and then realize that they were asleep at the wheel. So they get to Xmas. Fry makes a comment about Christmas, and they're like, Christmas? And they're like, oh, you must mean Xmas. Christmas must be an archaic pronunciation.
And somewhere the spirit of my grandmother, may she rest in peace, was getting furious because I just remember how mad she would get whenever anyone would like sign a Christmas card, Xmas or anything like that. She hated it.
This does introduce the joke that in the future they say axe instead of ask, which I think does actually persist a little bit after this. Really? Like I think they do come back to this a little. Yeah, I think they continue to use that in some later episodes. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, but yeah, nobody knows what Christmas is. They do know about Xmas. And they offer to participate in some Xmas traditions so that they can help cheer Fry up because he's a little lonely.
And they give him they're gonna go chop down a traditional Xmas tree, which turns out to be a palm tree because pine trees have been extinct for 200 years, quite some time. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Gone the way of the poodle.
But yeah, we talked a little bit about this before we were on mic here. Chase was saying, I'm doing it too. Chase was saying that, you can actually see a lot of pine trees in the background while they're saying that.
I suspect.
But they were the metal ones that go back
this
into
is
the
what
ground.
I was saying.
Yeah, that's what she was saying.
I was going to point out the same thing, but I was like, oh wait, they explained it away. They also got.
There are those false cell towers that are supposed to look like a pine tree, but you're like,
those don't look at it. It doesn't work. It never works.
And the thing that drove me crazy is I went down to California at one point, and that's the first time I ever saw the ones that look like trees. And it was like, why is there a pine tree here? It's not a pine tree, but it's not. There are no other pine trees. Why would you use this to try to blend in? I don't understand.
Yeah, I know, that's really dumb.
Yeah,
I think what might have been a funnier gag here is if instead of palm trees, they were like those shitty trees that are fake that they sell at Home Depot that are just like strands of lights but formed in the shape of a Christmas tree.
Oh yeah. Just that naturally growing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That actually is pretty good. Yeah.
Hey, if any Futurama writers are listening to this, you guys could hire me for the revival. I'm cheap.
And if you are listening to this, retweet it if Twitter's still a thing. So Fry, it doesn't cheer up Fry because they're all these traditions are way zanier than his own, like having fresh goose for the goose burgers and a special eggnog made from bourbon and ice cubes.
That's such a good show.
I laughed out loud
so much.
Like it took me a second, and then I was like, "Oh, I see what they did there."
And the delivery was.
They have a similar joke in the other Christmas episode. Something about like, good old bathtub eggnog, just like Grandma used to drink.
Let's see. The crew gets cards from their families. Bender's mom is a robot factory arm, which I thought was a clever sight gag. But it's at this point that Leela starts feeling sad about being an orphan, and Fry, as usual, is an inconsiderate ass.
Who gives Fry the card, you think? Because Fry gets a card.
Good point.
I don't know.
Is it Professor Farnsworth?
They don't show it, I don't think.
Yeah, they don't.
right?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Does he have his clone?
It probably would.
At this point. Yeah.
Lars sent it to him.
Yeah. Maybe at the very least, maybe Leela was nice enough to send him a card.
That could be.
Yeah.
Who knows? And then I don't remember what this line was from, but is there anything sadder is what I have, and then someone says drowning puppies.
Oh, the newscaster.
Oh.
Yeah, when talking about the robot hobos who were
right.
Yeah.
Drowning
kitchen,
puppies.
yeah.
But there'd have to be a lot of them.
yeah.
That was pretty good. So
yeah.
this is where the B story starts, and Bender gets the idea to go down to the robot liquor kitchen, which is a play on soup kitchens, and trick them into.
Well, we need to
free liquor.
We need to say the joke that he leaves Planet Express with, which is like when everyone's like, "You're not generous. Why on earth would you do this?" And he's like, "I'm very generous. I gave blood once." And Fry's like, "Whose blood?" He's like, "I don't know, some guys."
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
So I do want to say, here. So the thing here is that Bender goes and he says that he's going to go volunteer at the liquor kitchen. Which is not what he does, but I think the person who did the episode description for this one on Hulu only watched this bit of the episode.
They thought it was
because
the A
it
story.
because it says in the thing, Bender volunteers at a soup kitchen for broken robots.
Yeah, you're right.
In the Hulu description, yeah. I think that is the only thing it says. So it's like, yeah, wow, you didn't really pay a lot of attention to this one, huh?
I didn't even make it to the part where you didn't volunteer.
It's literally the next scene.
Yeah.
It's literally it's literally like 2 minutes later in the episode.
Oh, that's hilarious. We also learn Fry gets the idea to cheer Leela up, so he's going to go out and buy her a gift. Zoidberg tries to teach him the apology dance. That doesn't work out. And we learned that in 2801, Santa was built by the Mom Robot Corporation. And due to a programming error, he judges everyone naughty and kills them. So
yeah, I thought that this was the episode where we actually see a little bit of Robot Santa at the North Pole, but it must be the other one. Mm-hmm. But there's a gag in that episode that I think really sort of gets to the heart of evil Robot Santa, where he's saying like a street thugs beating up a shopkeeper for protection money. Naughty. Shopkeeper not paying protection money. Equally as naughty. And I just thought, oh, he's a typical American centrist. Police brutality. Naughty. Kneeling for the national anthem over police brutality. Equally, if not more naughty.
Good analysis there. Let's see. Yes, so the next scene is Bender at the liquor kitchen scamming some free booze, and then he sees Tinny Tim, the robot.
Tinny Tim.
Tim.
I've seen this character a lot in Futurama, and I think this is the first time I realized that his name was Tinny Tim and not just Tiny Tim.
Oh.
I think that's funny, though. That's a good joke.
Yeah,
it is funny. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I like it. I couldn't believe that I never picked up on that before.
Oof. We also see Fry looking for different presents. One of the things is suggested is a Santa-seeking surface-to-air missile launcher. Comes with 3 of them, an electric snail, and he ends up trying to decide between a parrot or $500 worth of stink lizards, I think he called them.
Yep. Yeah.
They say something like girls want 500
Girls like
lizards,
swarms
right?
of things, right?
Yeah.
Girls want swarms of things.
Yeah.
And then he ends up with the parrot, or as I've written in my notes, the parrot for some reason. And as he's walking down the street, my favorite line from the episode is, "Oh, you're quite the little talker, aren't you? Shut the hell up."
Oh God, those parrot noises are so unpleasant. Like, they're really good. They're like quality, like Frank Welker, bird noises. But like, man, they are I understand why Fry gets kind of aggro at the parrot. He shouldn't have. He shouldn't have bought it in the first place. But I do respect him for a little bit for trying to get the parrot back.
I also did find the "I know where you live" joke funny.
That was good.
The parrot escapes and he yells that after.
I feel like this is also very accurate parrot behavior. Like parrots are jerks. My stepdad has one for some reason. And they are just they're the worst. They're awful. I don't know why they haven't cooked it yet, but
I mean the cool thing about a parrot is that if you don't like it, it's gonna outlive you, so you better get used to it.
Yeah. I think they actually outlive us out of spite, actually. Like they hate us. They hate us.
Unless it somehow flies in front of a surface to air missile at you. Is this the time for Andrew to go into a PSA about how animals are not gifts?
I do think that's important. Just because there's such a commitment, it's just not something, and you should have someone's permission before you give them a commitment too, right?
Yes. Consent is important.
Also, adopt, don't shop.
I can get behind that.
Adopt, don't shop. Yeah. This is coming out before Xmas, so you still have a couple shopping days left. Yes. So Santa. Fry is chasing after the bird. He goes up to the top of the clock tower, which I love that it was a digital clock face.
A digital clock. Yeah, I mean, the best thing is it's a digital clock that he hangs off the digital numbers on it.
Yeah. So it's a physical digital clock.
It's so funny. Yeah.
That was another very good sight gag.
Yeah.
So he falls off. Leela saves him after, again, comedy comes in threes. He falls down, or the letters or the numbers disappear 3 times on him. Let's see. Santa finds Fry and Leela as they're walking home at dusk. And, they're like, they try to convince Santa that they're actually good because they resolved their issues and are now thinking about each other's feelings. And he yells, "Did any of you ever stop to think about Dr. Zoidberg's feelings?" And they
we swear.
Exactly. Yep. That was a good line.
It's a really good line.
But Santa starts chasing them down while Bender is out caroling with the homeless robots. And they force the old lady to invite them into their house, and she offers them, some cider. They drink it, and then they rob her blind.
Yes,
as you do when you're a robot.
Of all of her pennies.
Yes. Yeah. 3 jars of pennies.
That was the other one. 3 jars of pennies. That was the other one. Yeah.
We should have shifted you to the third day.
Yeah. I gotta say I respect them because I feel like this is a pretty easy setup for a Clockwork Orange parody. I am very impressed that they did not take that bait, that they did not go for that.
Fair, yeah, especially British Tinny Tin.
I was confused by the fact that the robots seemed somewhat immune to the Santa, the angry Santa, but then later, he thought Bender was naughty. It was confusing to me.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think Santa makes his own rules a little bit, honestly.
Yeah, sure. He's just shooting from the hip, literally.
Literally. He doesn't seem super consistent with how he doles out his punishment for being naughty.
Oh, yeah. So Fry and Leela are chased into an alcove, I guess, or an archway. And they're under a mistletoe about to kiss and / die from Santa when the parrot comes back and Randy Johnson's itself.
Yes.
That video is crazy, by the way.
It sure is. It's when I watch that sometimes just to remind myself that it's real, that it exists.
I want someone to calculate the probability of that. That seems very, very low.
This is the baseball pitcher who hits the bird.
Baseball
hit the bird just explodes. I mean, it's 100 mile per hour pitch. You know?
Well, it would. Yes,
the bird is just atomized. Yeah.
Fun fact. I think I learned this on a different podcast. Randy Johnson was or is now like a sports photographer for and his photography company logo is the exploded bird.
Wow. Okay. Good for him. Lean into it.
Well, it's a drawing of it. Yeah. And Fry gets in the line. I think your gift might need some assembly after the parrot's like fried.
Oh yeah, it's an upside down bird, like a dead bird.
Yep. Yeah, that's his logo. And Bender tries to frame an orphan, and Santa Claus adds it to his list, allowing them to escape. And
another good like stalling for time joke. He's got to add it to the list right away. I was hoping to see him like actually dip his quill into like some ink or something. Like that's why it's taking so long for him to write it down.
But it's a robotic quill. No. So they get back to Planet Express, and the other staff are exchanging gifts, which another great gag if anyone remembers what it is. The set.
It's the gift of the Magi thing. The thing with the combs. It's so good.
Right, yeah. Well, but we also I need to rewind a little bit because I want to make sure we get in another good Farnsworth quote where they're allowed back into the Planet Express building because they'll be killed on our doorstep, and there's no trash pickup until January 3rd.
How unsightly.
So I don't know why this made me think of this, but one thing that never really occurred to me before about Futurama that I think is sort of interesting is that it's a New York show. It's set in New York, and it's got a bunch of really New York specific jokes in it. Mm-hmm. But like, as far as I understand it, the Simpsons writers and, presumably a lot of the people writing for this show, they're all LA people. So I'm kind of curious about like where their like particular sources of like LA, of like New York perspective come from. Because if you watch The Simpsons, there's honestly a whole lot of jokes that are like really LA specific that don't even read as jokes to people that like don't know that area. But there's a ton of like really like, commentary about New York in Futurama. I feel like the garbage thing is sort of one of them.
That's fair. Although like, Conan, Mulaney wrote for them for a little while too, didn't he? But like
I think so.
Former SNL writers would have have a grip on it.
I mean, like this episode. Yeah, I mean, like this episode was written by like Bill Odenkirk, Bob Odenkirk's brother. So like, I don't know. It's just just a thing that's what I was thinking of Bob Odenkirk. It's
that's a fair question.
It's a funny line. It's a very funny line.
Speaking of funny lines, I like it when Santa breaks in. He's going to kill everyone except for Zoidberg. Zoidberg's been a good boy, and he gets a pogo stick.
Yep.
Andrew, you might be muted.
I was muted. Like those annoying Gen X Zoom people. Except I don't have a visual indicator, except my little light on my mixer. Well, it's okay. What I had to say wasn't that entertaining, so...
At least the audience heard it. We just didn't.
Okay.
So Zoidberg starts bouncing around. Bender has a line: "If you don't believe in him, he won't hurt you." Zoidberg, what does he do? He accidentally clips one of the strings of lights, and then that electrocutes Santa.
Well, does he accidentally do it, or does he do it on purpose?
I don't know. I was looking away at this point.
I think it was on purpose because I think he goes like aha when he does it.
It reminds me.
So like
It's like
which is interesting because it's way more competent than I think Zoidberg ever is at any point in the show apart from this.
Right.
So, you know, if you had one smart thing to do, I guess this was the time to pull it out.
It's like they stole the ending of the Gremlins, Gremlins 2.
The Gremlins 2.
Oh, yeah.
With electrocute.
Which is a
electrical
tremendously
gremlin.
horrible movie, but that's beside the point.
I made Andrew watch that for Podcast of Horror 3, or so, as you like to say, Podcast of Horror 3.
That one is so bonkers. I almost kind of respect it.
No, I mean, I laughed hard out loud while watching that movie. Terrible movie, but hilarious.
It's the same as like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. I prefer the first one because it was more serious. But I can understand why you would like the second one.
It was at times hilarious on purpose and at other times hilarious by accident, I guess is how I'll put it.
Yeah. So they lock Santa into the chimney blast door thing, and he blasts himself out of the chimney, and away Santa goes.
Looks like Robot Santa's blasting off again.
You beat me to it. And then Fry's never felt more at home. They have Xmas dinner, which Bender cooks for them. He had found a dead parrot on the street. Wonder where that came from. And Nibbler eats everything.
Nibbler eats it.
Yeah. And then
but the food doesn't matter, as Tinny Tim says, "I'm so hungry."
God, that's such a good line reading. It's so good.
I will say, I had heard the name Nibbler quite a bit with animals coming into the clinic. I never really understood what the reference was. And now I understand.
Not now.
Yeah. I don't even think Nibbler had its name dropped.
Because the thing is with animal names, like a lot of pop culture references. I mean,
but dated pop culture references.
Yeah, around the time of dated. Around the time
Game
of
of Thrones.
when Twilight was really popular, there were so many animals named like Bella and Esme, and it just made me want to like die a little bit.
There's children named that too.
You know, better. Yeah, I was gonna say better an animal than a kid. I think.
Well, I had one come in today that was 19 years old, and someone thought it was a reference to Game of Thrones, and I'm like, this animal was born in 2000. In 2003, I think you're a little off base there.
They were big fans of Song of Fire and Ice.
I guess.
Yeah, they named it early. Yeah.
Get
in before the rush.
Go ahead.
So I want to ask, what does everyone think of this as a Christmas episode? Because I think it's a funny Futurama episode, but what do you guys think of it as a Christmas episode thing?
I mean, it hits the Xmas cliches. Like, it ends on a song. Santa Claus is coming to town, or gunning you down.
I'm sorry. I was waiting for
the window.
I was waiting for that to pay off because I didn't know what the final joke was going to be there. And I laughed out loud. And I'm like, wow, how America is that song? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, it does have that cliche. And then like, finding a gift at the last minute. That's definitely one we see a lot. But
and not actually getting the gift for the person, but the just being together is all they need.
Yeah.
Because she's alone, he's alone, but now they're alone together.
Yeah. I gotta say, even though this, a lot of that stuff is, I think about 80% played for laughs. As somebody who hasn't been able to get home to spend Christmas with my family in a long time, it kind of hit different than it did, a number of years ago, the last time I watched this episode. You make the holidays work for you wherever you are.
True.
That's true.
That honestly is like a kind of genuine sentiment that that I was able to connect with in this one. So, in addition to it being a funny Futurama episode, I think it is a pretty good Christmas episode too.
Yeah,
I think it's an okay Xmas episode.
It's an excellent. It's an excellent Xmas episode. It is.
Yeah, it's a great Xmas episode.
It's an okay Christmas episode.
A lot of I wasn't in physical pain trying to make it through this episode, which is kind of refreshing.
Right?
And
I could list a few episodes of things we've watched that were.
Oh, you're going to be so excited with the last booking, what they suggested and swapped in.
We'll see.
Yep.
I saw one because I didn't realize we could suggest things not on the list, but I saw one on there that somebody suggested. I was like, oh, I remember that being pretty awful. I don't know if it's the same one you were just thinking of, but
oh no, it's not on there yet.
Okay.
So
I'm
you're talking
looking forward
about,
to hearing.
I guess we haven't released it to the fans yet, so
yeah. So I don't want to spoil anything.
Fair enough. Any other final thoughts on the episode?
It made me want to watch some more Futurama again. Definitely, it definitely made me want to watch the other Xmas episode of this as well, which I think is also very good. So, I just had a good time. I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say, but
yeah, I mean, what else is there to say except good news, everyone! I've taught the toaster to feel love.
Yeah, I found it very entertaining. It was a quick watch. Yeah, definitely good quality TV.
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely think the second Santa Claus episode is probably better than this one, but this is a good foundation for their Xmas episodes going forward. And
this one has kind of a disjointed quality to it. I feel like it's almost like it's almost like a Futurama winter holiday themed sketch comedy show, but it's still good.
One thing I did want to say is it is surprising how long into the episode it goes before evil robot Santa shows up.
That is true, especially because that was in the description.
Right.
Like there's good build up to it, a lot of really good build up to it. But yeah, he really doesn't show up until kind of the third act of the thing. So it's interesting.
I was thinking they should have brought him in. I was really thinking they should have brought him in earlier. And in fact, I actually wrote a new version of the script for this. If you guys don't mind, I could read that really.
Here we go.
No, I'm kidding.
It's now Xmas tradition. Go ahead.
But yeah, no. Futurama. Good.
Watch it.
Yes.
Can recommend.
Take it away, Chase.
Did you mute yourself?
No, he was joking. He doesn't.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No.
I fully expected you to have one for some reason. All right. Well, that's it for this holiday edition of Namely 90s. Thank you to Chase Keys and EmmyZero of SNEScapades for coming on. Can one or both of you let us know where to find you?
You can find us or you can find me on Cohost, Mastadon, Instagram, Twitter if it still exists, or just walking around my neighborhood. Definitely say hi.
Stare in his window at night. It's
yeah.
And I continue to have absolutely no social media presence, so you can find me by listening to the show SNEScapades. And we hope you do, because it's a fun show. And if you enjoyed us on here, this is kind of how we are all the time. So, yeah.
Or by postal mail at... No, I'm just kidding.
That's right. Right, yes. Our full mailing addresses. We'll do that. We'll do our social security numbers,
credit card info,
list of my fears,
mother's maiden name.
Yeah. You should probably have all of that if you want to follow our podcast about Super Nintendo games.
Yeah, and send yours to us.
Yeah, right.
Well, one thing I'm not lying about actually is you can find me on another social media site called Space Hey, which is basically just old school MySpace. Somebody recreated what MySpace used to look like, complete with the ability to inject your own CSS. So I made mine look like an Elcar's panel from Star Trek.
I saw that on the defunct Twitter. All right. As always, you can find us on Twitter if it's still around, and Instagram at Namely90s with 90s, or find our personal Twitter accounts, again, if it still exists, at bshwitty and at NamelyAndrew, and tell us what you want us to talk about on future episodes. If you'd like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Namely90s, also with a 90s. Finally, you can also contact us through our website. No, you can't. Namely90s.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Nuclear Winter, Deezer, TuneIn, iHeart, and wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Brandon. That's Andrew. Thank you one final time to Chase Keys and EmmyZero of SNEScapades. That's SNEScapades. And we will catch you tomorrow for day 3 of the 12 Days of Christmas specials.
Brandon's a genius.